Judy.
Now, two of the leading architects of the government's response to the financial crisis returned to Capitol Hill today. Both the current and the former Treasury Secretaries got an earful from Democrats and Republicans about their role in the bailout of insurance giant AIG. NewsHour Congressional correspondent Kwame Holman has our report.
Amid rising public anger about the bailouts of financial institutions, Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner was called before the House Government Reform and Oversight Committee to explain the government's 2008 rescue of insurance giant AIG. Geithner said there was no choice.
Deciding to support AIG was one of the most difficult choices I've ever been involved in over 20 years of public service. The steps that were taken were motivated solely by what we believe to be in the public interest. We did not act because AIG asked for help. We did not act to protect individual institutions. We acted because the consequences of AIG failing would have been catastrophic for our economy and for American families and businesses.
At the height of the financial crisis, the Federal Reserve, working with the Treasury, loaned AIG $85 billion. AIG, in turn, paid more than $60 billion to banks and companies such as Goldman Sachs. Goldman held contracts with the insurance giant to protect against losses worth billions. As the financial crisis worsened, total government aid to AIG swelled to $180 billion.
It would have been much more damaging to people you and I care about.
At the time of the initial loan, Geithner was president of the New York Federal Reserve.
More than a year removed from that terrible week of September 2008, I believe that the government strategy, and it was the government strategy, was the best of the available options.
The Oversight Committee also criticized the government's decision to allow AIG's creditors to be paid in full, even though AIG was insolvent. And members from both parties expressed anger that the public initially was not told about those payments.
Were you involved in any discussions with AIG or your staff involved where you discussed what AIG should or should not disclose to the public?
I had no role in making those decisions. But as the record shows, and the record before the committee shows, a large number of people at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and the Federal Reserve Board in Washington played a very active role in thinking through those difficult choices.
Geithner said he withdrew from decisions involving AIG and other matters before the New York Fed once he was nominated to be Treasury Secretary by President Obama in November 2008.
But you weren't attempting to cover up.
But many committee members still were skeptical about his role in the bailout, and some criticized his overall performance. Republican John Mica of Florida.
I believe either you made a bad decision there, or, in fact, there was the attempt to cover up one of the biggest bailouts, backdoor bailouts, in history. Now, you've tried to frame it as you did it because you did it in the interest of the people and the failure of the system. I'm telling you, I believe these are lame excuses. Either you were in charge and did the wrong thing, or you participated in the wrong thing. This, to me, it appears like, when you were being confirmed, a lot of controversy surrounded your not paying your taxes. You gave lame excuses then. I believe you're giving the committee lame excuses now. And my final question is, why shouldn't we ask for your resignation as Secretary of the Treasury?
That is your right to that opinion. I have worked in public service all my life. I have never been a politician. I have served my country as carefully and ably as I can, and it is a great privilege for me to work with this president to help repair the damage that was here when we took office.
And several members rejected Geithner's contention that forcing Wall Street firms to accept cuts in payments would only have caused defaults and an even worse crisis.